To test this argument, consider Hitler's dream of the Superman. W.L. Wilmhurst from his book, The Meaning of Masonry. He writes, "This, the evolution of man into Superman, was always the purpose of the ancient mysteries, the religion of Masonry. Man, who has sprung from the earth and developed through the lower kingdoms of nature, has yet to complete his evolution by becoming a God-like being." God-like being. But with this ancient practice also comes ancient warnings found in the writings of the Old Testament. Author Dave Hunt comments on the book of Isaiah.
Isaiah 8:20. Why do you turn to spirits that peep and mutter, these wizards, the spirits of the dead? I mean, Aunt Jane wasn't too bright when she was alive, but now that she's on the other side, she seems to be a fountainhead of wisdom. That doesn't make too much sense. Where did she get this from, and how do you know you're even talking to Aunt Jane? They don't know who these creatures are that are talking to them and through them. You go to a psychic, a medium, and for example, Bishop James Pike, California Episcopalian bishop, went to a medium. Well, his son had committed suicide, and he was in his son's apartment in London. And some things would move around. He'd come back from being out, and there's some postcards in a certain pattern, and with messages and so forth. And he began to think that his son, Jim Jr., was trying to communicate with him. So he went to Anna Twigg, a famous psychic there in London. And what do you know? She goes into a trance. And, you know, the prophets in the Bible don't go into a trance. They don't get into an altered state and then something takes over. God speaks through them. Never do they do that. But anyway, she goes into a trance, and wow, it sounds like his son's voice, Jim Jr., speaking through her. And he says things that only he and his son would know. She couldn't possibly know. This has happened multiple times. So that convinces him it must really be his son. Yeah, but what does his son say? You see, we go by what, in part, there are many ways of analyzing them, but in part we go by what do they say? Well, first thing his son Jim says, "Dad, I'm not here for a pleasant afternoon's conversation. I have a mission now. I want you to know that God isn't personal. He's a force. And Jesus is not the Savior. I mean, he's just a more highly evolved being than I am. I've heard about him. I haven't seen him yet, but he's on a higher plane." And on it goes. Spirit survival. No, Dad, there's no judgment. God doesn't judge you. You don't face him in judgment. We just move into graduate school and we continue to learn our lessons, you know, and progress and so forth. All of the lies undermining what the Bible is. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. But they want somehow to get some power, some control over their lives, and they're very curious. What's going to happen? Well, they're going to the wrong source to find out what's going to happen, and it has brought disaster.
J.Z. Knight, a highly successful spirit channeler who channels a spirit calling itself Ramtha. Ramtha's School of Enlightenment claims to reach some 60 cities in 26 countries around the world. In this interview, shot in 1998, Knight explains how she came in contact with her guiding spirit.
This was like an angel in my kitchen. I just blurted out, "You're so beautiful, who are you?" And he smiled, this beautiful smile lit up the whole room, and he said, "I am Ramtha the Enlightened One, and I've come to help you over the ditch." And I looked back up at him, and he said, "Beloved daughter," he said, "I have come to make you a light to the world."
Equipped with a bad British accent, something that seems common among channelers, Knight gives herself over to the spirit of Ramtha.
I am Ramtha the Enlightened One. I am 35,362 1 and 37 seconds years old. I was born in that which is termed a great and marvelous place called Lemuria, and my destiny here is to teach you that which you desire to know, and to let you know that every word that I say I will manifest for you in your life.
Incredibly, throughout the interview, Ramtha and Knight repeat the central themes of the New Age movement over and over, insisting that there is no death and that man himself is a god. Here, Knight denies that Ramtha is a demon, but believes he was a man who has achieved divine status due to knowledge and experience.
He's not a devil. He's not a demon. He's not a guru. He's a god. I am a teacher and a god. I'm a god because I experienced all of these things.
So many people are awakening to cosmic consciousness and higher concepts of metaphysics and spirituality. And this is going to be a true masterclass in what's really going on. When they haven't seen it before, there's a gasp in the audience, but you all are well initiated. Edgar Casey and myself, there's obviously a facial similarity there. This is my good friend from college, Angelica, and this is Edgar's wife, Gertrude. These are like the only people I'm still in contact with from high school and college. I mean, you have to understand, these are not just random people from my life. These are like some of my closest associates and friends. Well, you don't just find them anywhere. You have to go into these circles, and you can only enter them at certain times because it has to do with a planetary alignment. You see, the Earth has naturally occurring natural stargates on them. And I know that some of you might not believe this, but there is so much evidence, and we're going to go through some of that. There are natural stargates, and you actually can time travel. So there's a very important reason why the ancients were building things like Stonehenge and the pyramids. This is not just to entertain themselves and to build a tomb for the dead pharaoh. Okay, it's much more than that. That's why they call it channeling. Because, and I didn't go into this last time, but what really appears to be happening here is everybody knows about the system of chakras, the esoteric